Good afternoon. Welcome to the Oklahoma City Water Utilities Trust meeting for November 16th. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes of the November 2nd meeting.
Move approval. Second.
Motion and a second to approve the November 2nd meeting minutes. Are there questions, or comments, additions, corrections? Hearing none, voting please. There we go. Minutes are approved. The next item is the consent docket. Several matters.
I'd move the consent docket subject to individual consideration.
Second. Motion is second to approve the consent docket.
Mr. Chairman, item 3C4, an amendment for Southwest Water Works and acceptance of a project was incorrectly posted today. The amendment is listed as a decrease of $22,479.50. In actuality, that's an increase of $22,429.50.
You'll note that the actual amendment that's attached to your memo is correct. It does note that it is an increase.
Yes.
I have a question on B3.
Okay.
This is sort of a curiosity question. The engineer's estimate on this project is $17,900 to $18,200, depending on alternates, and the winning bid was $11,400 to $11,700, and that's a substantial difference. Is there something that they missed? The contracting, the bids are all in the same neighborhood, so I would have some comfort that that was a good bid. But it seems like that there was an extraordinary difference between the engineer's estimate and the winning bid.
Yes, there was. Mr. Simandi is here to help me, but basically there was a great deal of dispute about what the prices would actually be. In Oklahoma City, we are still enjoying some better pricing. In some cases, this is a very much an open field kind of construction with tie-ins to the existing plant. Originally, in the capital plan, we had budgeted this at $12 million, and we're responding to the engineer's estimate. So I think some of it is regional expenses. Some of it is lack of construction, other construction opportunities, and good, stable costs for diesel fuel, for example, and plastics.
It was great news to see that cost low, but it was so far below 100 sometimes. I think the good comfort is that the bids were all comparable. There was that substantial gap
Between the engineer's estimate.
Yes, sir, and we'll share that with the engineer and ask them to more fully analyze the reasons for the error, because that is concerning to us. We're setting aside those funds and obviously always have things we can accomplish.
Thank you.
Any further comments? We have a motion and a second on the consent docket. Ready to vote? Voting, please. Consent docket's approved.
Mr. Chairman, we would want to note the change on item 3C4.
Yes.
Oh, was. Thank you.
Next matter is the concurrence docket. There are two items on the concurrence docket.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve the two items on the concurrence docket. Are there questions or comments? Hearing none, voting please. Concurrence docket's approved. The next item is an emergency contract.
Will we defer that to the next meeting? We don't have the votes to approve an emergency?
We do not. We'll take one more.
Second.
This will be deferred to the next meeting of December 7th. Have motion and a second to defer to December 7th. Voting, please. Matter's deferred. Item 6 is to receive a couple of reports.
Second.
Have a motion and a second to receive the reports. Are there comments on the reports?
This a long time ago. What's the difference between treated water and pumped water?
Treated water includes all the water brought into the plant. It is, well, pumped water is delivered from the plant as finished drinking water. So the plant is continuously processing water and recycling some of that water back to the head of the plant. That's included in as residuals. We're taking out sediment in a mostly water.
It's consumed in the process.
I'm doing a really bad job of this. Let me try. It's recycled in the process,
Okay.
or it's removed and sent to the solids holding basin where we're dewatering those solids to get them ready to land apply or put in a landfill.
For example, if you backwash a filter, there's a...
You treated water for that, and so it doesn't show up in the actual, I mean, you use
Yes.
pumped water for that, you don't use it, it's
That's
not
correct.
treated.
Yes.
Good, thank you.
But we watch those numbers because they're a measure of our efficiency, and we're re-looking at those numbers. We do some things very well. The total number of backwashes is small, the volume used in backwash, and I'm curious about some of the numbers myself. So we'll be looking at them more detail.
Any further questions? Voting, please. Reports are received. Next item is item 7, a series of matters are requiring individual consideration. The first item is ratification of the trust payments, October 13 through November 9, 2010.
Second.
Motion is second to ratify the payments. Questions? Voting, please. Payments are ratified. Next item is a resolution authorizing the general manager designee to enter into a beta site agreement with Badger Meter.
I move the item, but I'd like a little explanation of it.
Thank you.
We have over 1,000 meters in the system that are now automated reading, set up for automated reading, and we've been working with that now for well over 10 years to become familiar. Thus far, what's called AMR, automatic meter reading, has not been cost effective for us. Badger Meter is one of 2 or 3 providers available that would meet other meter standards that we have in place. And they are our current water meter provider. What they have offered is installation of 75 meters and assemblies to test some new technology that they have coming out. The new technology is somewhat appealing, but may only be competitive with other technologies. Our staff is really interested in doing it because they feel that the relative cost of automated meter reading is dropping. Historically, the cost to install these devices has not offset in any time value of money review the actual operation of the devices. But those things are changing, and we do want to keep up with it. For example, many smaller communities who didn't have meter change-out programs and faced some other obstacles have, through the federal ARRA, implemented automated meter reading across the board. We're not there yet. I'm not suggesting it, but staying smart about the technology change is a good thing.
How does the mobile reading system work? Is it in a truck that cruises the neighborhoods, picks up the readings, or?
Yes, these are truck automated as opposed to sent to a central location. We do have some different kinds of meters for very large customers that are sent via what's called the SCADA system, data information exchange, that's available to some of our larger customers directly.
Once the meetings are recorded in the mobile reading truck, what happens then? Are they transmitted to the central place for billing, or are they the truck drive into the garage and download that information? How does that work?
That's a part of this test. That these may be centrally sent over electronic systems directly to us rather than picked up in a truck.
Okay. And would we use the city's Wi-Fi system or telephone system?
That's the concept. We're going to test it near in the urban inner city around 5th and May because it's very close to our operation. Coming again in about a square mile, Penn to May, 10th to Main Street, General Pershing, to be able to look at some larger meters, some regular-sized meters, meters in alleys, all of which are more difficult to reach, and then some more common meters that are more shallow but readily accessible from the street.
Okay. And it would include then some residential meters as well as commercial meters?
Yes, varying from residential size to 10-inch, varying from 13 inches deep to 13 feet deep.
Further questions? Can I take your, as a second? Have a motion and a second to approve item 7B. Voting, please. Item's approved. Next item, item 7C. There's a correction in the title. We need to add the words approve a change request number 2 after the word to in the third line of the title. Otherwise, it's okay. There are no changes in the body of it, but the title is needs that change.
What's the total cost of this particular effort?
That's going to help us.
You need this.
The estimate, it's right now, we're still in negotiation, so we're looking for the adoption to proceed with this effort to get it reformed down to a document we would take to you at a later date. But the estimated cost to be $1.259 million to do the project, plus licensing costs for SAP that are yet to be determined, but we anticipate in the range of $200,000.
And what do we get for this now? What do we get for the...
What we would do is, our current billing system has functionality. We've already bought software that can perform work order and laboratory functionality in it. And rather than go out and procure another software program, we would use the software we already have to perform these functions if we configure that software to perform these functions. And that would be work order management and laboratory information management for our water quality division. 142 employees work in water quality. They operate the water plants, the Atoka pipeline, the Reservoirs and Canals Group, and our laboratory.
And will justify enough savings in their operations to pay for this system? Or is it just nicer? I mean, it seems like a lot of money.
It is a lot of money. Automated systems are expensive consistently. I think people do argue that it saves you what you spend. I'm not certain personally that that's true. However, the water treatment plants, with the exception of Draper, are operated without automated work order systems to help schedule work, to make certain that preventive maintenance that's required for the warranties on the equipment and things like that is actually maintained, and to create a consistent schedule of work so that preventive work is done along with rehabilitative work. The laboratories have changed so much in the last 20 years. The laboratories, complex equipment, atomic absorption units, and gas chromatograph mass spectrophotometers, for example, are very computer-laden. They don't talk to each other, and so producing the reports that are required by the federal government and the state government regarding our performance are difficult to create from the laboratory. It becomes, again, a barrier to assuring that the work gets done in the most cost-effective way possible. We're attracted to SAP because we already own it, and because these groups don't have existing work order systems that they can employ at our other operations, line maintenance, and lift stations. We're using a system called CityWorks, which we like very much. CityWorks has some barriers to additional implementation SAP, given that we've got a lot invested in SAP already, appears logical to me to try.
Well, at some point in time, though, you will take a moment and make sure that it's a cost-effective solution, because I've seen other computer-generated solutions that are nice, they're neat, but they're not as good as doing it with pencil and paper sometimes. They're less expensive, maybe, doing it with the paper and pencil. And so, although you may get a smoother running, more professional-looking thing, I want to be comfortable that it was cost-effective as well. Thank you.
I agree.
Do we have a motion for approval?
Second.
Motion and a second to approve item 7C as the title has been amended. Are there further comments or questions? Voting, please. The measure is approved. The next item on the agenda is to move to an executive session concerning the Sardis Lake problems. We have to have a separate vote for that.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve.
Pete White,
Yes.
Patrick Bryan. James Counts.
Yes. Can't we vote off the board?
We'll go ahead and finish the agenda if that's all right. And then, is there any new business? If not, are there comments from trustees, staff, citizens?
Mr. Chairman, the staff will meet tomorrow at the Canton Lake Advisory Committee to determine whether a small release from Canton Lake would be permitted. We think we've gotten some rain, and now would be a great time to take a release. The Corps of Engineers would like to complete that release before the 1st of December. We have also picked up a little bit of natural flow in the river in the last rainstorms, but it's relatively minor, maybe a quarter of a foot in both of our lakes, Hefner and Overholser. We're looking at probably a 2-foot increase in the lakes, more perhaps if the river bottom's wet enough to help deliver more of the take to Lakes Hefner and Overholser. It's not unusual for us to take water this time of year when we've had a very dry fall, and again, forecasts are for a pretty dry winter, looking at about a 33% chance of about a 33% below normal rainfall over the winter.
Comments? Hearing none, we